Hey everyone, Jake here for American Trucks, and in this video we're taking a look at the Body Armor 4x4 Ambush series from Bumper, fitting 2019 and newer Ram 1500s, excluding EcoDiesel, Rebel, TRX, and Classic models. Now this bumper is a great choice for the Ram owner who's after more clearance and rugged good looks. This is a hefty, full width bumper with a lot of protection and flexibility, and it's one of the most affordable options in the segment. Now obviously this is a video and you guys can't feel this thing, but I can tell you that straight away from picking this up out of the box, you will notice that this is a big old bumper. So this is going to offer you plenty of protection no matter what you encounter. This is one solid piece as well, so it's going to be able to take a beating. The most distinctive feature here though is the styling. While this might be really beefy, it's actually quite thin and it cuts up a lot closer to the body of the truck than your stock one, so it's going to give you more clearance in the front end. So if you're out hitting some trails, you're going to be better able to attack steeper grades or larger obstacles, as that smaller overall height means a better approach angle. But more clearance isn't the only trick. Now if your truck came with parking sensors, great news for you, this bumper is compatible. Just pop the sensors out of your original bumper and you're going to clip them right in here in the corresponding places. And you've got all the stuff that you need to do that included in the kit. Now there are also welded recovery points on both sides here, so you can mount some D-rings for some more heavy-duty pulling or off-roading situations. And more good news, if you want to add additional lighting, you've got provisions right here in the center for a 30-inch dual-row LED light bar and 2 cube lights over here on either side. Now if you don't want to run those lights, you've got this mesh that can just pop right on in there and give you a nice, clean, cohesive look. Now one thing that is worth noting here is that this bumper in particular is not winch compatible. However, if you don't need a winch mount, this is going to give you all the good stuff you want without much fuss. Now as we already have discussed, this thing is very solid. Everything here is welded together. Again, this comes pretty much as one piece with the exception of the brackets and this grate for the center. So this is all made out of 3/16 inch and 1/4 inch cold rolled steel. So outside of the actual welds, that means that nothing was heated, which means that none of the material was weakened in the manufacturing process. So this is really, really sturdy. And of course, the whole thing is covered in this 2-stage textured black powder coat to protect everything and make sure that it is safe from rust and corrosion for a long time to come. Pricing comes in at about $925, and that makes this one of the most affordable full-width bumpers in the segment. Now, of course, you're not getting lighting included here, and again, this is not winch compatible. So that does help account for some of the cost savings, but this is still a really big, really strong bumper that's gonna look good and offer you a ton of flexibility and protection for the price. Installation for this one is going to get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and you can expect this to take you about 2 hours to complete. Now everything you need is included in the kit. It's all going to bolt on without having to make any modifications to your truck. Now this job might take you a little bit longer depending on if you need to transfer over your parking sensors, but again, everything is included, so you don't have to worry about that. Now you are going to want to have a friend help you with this because like I said before, this thing is hefty, and I'm not just saying that because I have noodle arms. This is a really heavy bumper, and getting these things put into place and aligned is definitely a 2-person job. So bribe a friend with some food or some drinks or both and have them give you a hand. You'll be able to get this on in roughly about 2 hours. With that though, let's head out to the shop and we'll walk you through the process step by step.
For this install, you need a 3/8 impact, a 1/2 inch and a 3/8 ratchet, a 3/8 extension, a 22, 19, 18, 16, 13, an 8mm socket, a 19, an 18, and a 13mm wrench. All right, today we're going to be installing a front bumper on our Ram. But first we're going to watch a video how to uninstall the stock one, and then we'll come back here to install the new one.
So right off the bat here, you can see our truck is on the lift. I just wanted to say, you don't need a lift to do this. This is definitely extremely easy. We just do that to make it a little bit easier on our camera guy, make sure he can see everything and get you the information that you need to know to do this to your brand new Ram. First step though, we're gonna grab the ratchet 8mm socket. There's 5 bolts we're going to remove in the wheel well right here. We're gonna get those out of the way, and that's going to allow us to remove a plastic wheel well liner that's connected to our front bumper. So now we have those 3 out. This piece is loose on our bumper, but it's still kind of trapped in there. So there's 2 more we're gonna remove, and that should pull right out. And you can see those are slotted, so you only need to loosen them up to be able to pull that plastic piece out of the way. Now we're gonna come over to the other side and do the same thing. So once you got the driver's side plastic removed, we can move on to the next step, and that's gonna be this master wiring harness. We gotta disconnect that, and that'll unplug all the electronics on our bumper. First thing we're gonna do is move this switch from that position right there to the open position, and that will allow us to pop open this clamp right here, like so. And then if we just keep going with that, it should push the plug apart. Now, next up, we could actually move underneath the bumper here and disconnect this thing from the frame. There's 3 18mm nuts that hold this thing on. The one that I have the wrench on right now is a little bit tough to get to with the impact gun, so ratcheting wrench it is, but the other 2 aren't so bad, so we should be able to get into those with the socket and extension to remove them, and then we're gonna do the same thing for the other side. And just like the other side, we're gonna start at the top with the ratcheting wrench, then move to the impact for the last 2. Now we're gonna remove the 2 bolts on the outside. This is the last thing holding on our bumper, so you wanna make sure you have a good handle on it before you remove these. Now this bumper is loose, so we're just gonna pull it straight back and off the truck.
All right, the only thing we need to install on the bumper before we put it on the vehicle is our front center mesh. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our bracket up here, and then we have an L bracket with a slotted part. Slotted part's gonna go on the lower section, and then it's gonna get mounted together with our 2 8mm bolts and nuts and flat washers. All right, we're gonna grab our 1 bolt and flat washer, put it through our bracket, flat washer on the bottom, and our nut. Do the same thing on the other side. All right, we get another bolt, a flat washer, put our mesh into place and put it through. And we're gonna do a washer and a nut on the back side. Once again, same thing on the other side. All right, now we're just gonna grab our ratchet with a 13mm socket and a 13mm wrench and tighten it all down. All right, now we can install our brackets. There are 2 on each side. You'll see that they are labeled. This says D for driver and DF for driver, and then front side. So the bracket's gonna go up like this. There's 3 bolts going through. And then on the back side, we're gonna have this bracket, which we're gonna loosen this bolt and then put a new bolt through here. And then 2 bolts go through the main bracket. So first, we're gonna loosen this bolt. We're gonna grab an 18mm wrench and loosen that. All right, we're gonna grab our larger chrome bolt, put our flat washer, our lock washer, and then our flat washer. All right, we're gonna slide our bracket in. This slot will go in between the bolt and the frame. And in this hole here, we're gonna thread our new bolt in. And we're just gonna get everything snug. We're not gonna tighten anything down yet, just so we have some movement still. And now we can put our main bracket on. All right, we're gonna put our bracket into place. Then we're gonna grab our medium-sized bolts with a flat washer and put them through the front. And then on the back side, we're gonna do a flat washer and then a nut. All right, now we can hand thread in our other 2 bolts that will come through these nuts that are welded onto the bracket. They're gonna come through the back side. All right, we're gonna grab our bolts, our lock washer, and then our flat washer, and put them through the back side. All right, now we can go through and tighten everything. We're gonna start at the bottom, then go to these 2 bolts, and then we'll tighten our other 3. All right, we're gonna start with our bolt that we loosened in the back. It's 18 millimeter, and then our new bolt underneath, which is a 22 millimeter. All right, now we're gonna move to our 2 on the back side, which are 16 millimeters. All right, so we're just gonna grab a ratchet with a 16 millimeter socket and tighten those 2 on the back. All right, now we're gonna tighten our 3 main bolts. They're 18 millimeter heads and 19 millimeter nuts. So we're gonna have a 19 millimeter wrench, our impact, and an 18 millimeter socket. All right, now you just repeat the same thing for the other side. All right, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab a buddy because this bumper is pretty heavy, and we're gonna install our bumper with our brackets. You're gonna put the bumper up first, slide the brackets through, bumper will be on this side, and then you can install your nuts and flat washers. All right, now you got your bumper adjusted where you need it to be. You're gonna tighten your 3 nuts here. They are 19 millimeters. All right, you do the same thing for the other side. All right, that wraps up our install of our Body Armor 4x4 Ambush Series front bumper for our 2019 and 2024 Ram 1500, excluding the EcoDiesel, Rebel, and TRX. And remember, for everything Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.